Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, the second line from the top. We learned previously that Rav Yossi said that if there was a Kohen Gadol that was disqualified, they appointed a replacement, a substitute, and then the original Kohen Gadol recovered. He said that the substitute Kohen Gadol cannot serve neither as a Kohen Gadol nor as a Kohen Hedjed. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav Halacha Rav Yossi. It said that that's the halacha. The halacha is like Rav Yossi. Might Rav Yossi she'im meis rishon shechazer lavadasim. But he is minded that if the original Kohen Gadol dies, now this substitute, we don't appoint anybody else. The one that was the substitute that became disqualified, but now he's the one that takes over. What says Pshita? Well, of course, that's Pasha. I mean, the only reason that we say that the substitute can't do the Avodah is for other reasons, for Eva, Mal Mekaysh, and Maridin, but it's no reason that he shouldn't be fit to be the Kohen Gadol right now, and he was appointed as a substitute. The Gemara says, no, Ma'odesemi, you might think that we would not allow that because Havilet Sar Mechayim, because if the Kohen Gadol, the original Kohen Gadol, knows that this one is waiting in the wings and he's going to take over, it'll be like a competition for him in his lifetime and cause him agitation. And therefore, we would give him that security to know that this one is not taking over, Kamash Malan, though we don't say that. We say, nevertheless, that he is appointed. So in the Mishnah, we learned that Rabbi Yehuda Omer Av Isha Acheres Maskinalai. The Chachamim said that we appoint a substitute Kohen Gadol in case that there is a psul for the original Kohen Gadol. This one can take over. Rabbi Yehuda says, well, we also appoint a substitute wife. It says V'chipar ba'adoi v'ad beisa, the Kohen Gadol must have a wife. So perhaps his wife will die. Therefore, we appoint somebody to be a substitute in that case that happens. Well, the Rabbanon are also concerned by a possibility. They're also concerned that maybe the Kohen Gadol will become Tomei, and therefore they appoint a substitute. So why don't they agree to Rav Yehuda and also appoint a substitute wife? The occurrence of Tumah is common, that the wife will suddenly die on Yom Kippur. On that day, that's not common. That we don't have to be concerned about. Chum said to Rav Yehuda, if you're going to be concerned about an unusual event, well, then you'd have to be concerned maybe the substitute will die, and therefore you'd have to appoint another one. So if you're going to be chayshish and be concerned for these remote possibilities, then there's no end to what you have to be concerned about. So, they have a good taina to Rabbi Yehuda. It seems to be that's correct. But Rabbi Yehuda, he'll answer to you, we're not concerned for a possibility that is so rare and so unusual. For a misa that one wife might die suddenly, for that we're concerned. We take that into account. But that two would, that's too far-fetched for us to take into account. And Rabbanan say, then I feel a misa the train chayshina. Rabbanan say, if you're going to be concerned for these remote possibilities, even one is not likely, it's very unusual, so there'd be chayshish for two. Therefore, they say, meaning, the point is, they say, we do not take into account these very unlikely events. According to Rabbanan, why don't they ask on themselves? Why don't they ask on themselves? Well, you're chayshish for the tomb of the Kohen Gadol. Well, why don't you say, well, you're chayshish for that, you appoint a substitute, maybe the substitute will get Tomei, and also have the same taina, and say, Ein L'Dover Seif. Amalach Rabbanan, Kohen Gadol Zorisu. No, we don't have to be concerned about that, then, because the Kohen Gadol is Zoris, and the likelihood of Tumah is not common, so we don't have to take that into account. If you're saying that he's diligent, he's Zoris, he's careful, and we're not concerned about Tumah, but why do you prepare a substitute. You are preparing a substitute, so apparently you are concerned that even though he's Zoriz, he might become Tomei. So then why, according to you, you should have the same tain on yourselves. Well, why aren't we concerned the substitute will become Tomei? More answers came in Dovid Litzora, Kol came to Mizar's today. Meaning, we appoint the substitute that in order to encourage the Kohen Gadol to be even more careful. And therefore, by appointing the substitute, therefore we say the likelihood of a Kohen Gadol, who is fundamentally basically a Zoriz, and now that he has a substitute waiting in the winds, he'll be encourage him to be even more careful. Now we're not concerned at all. Meaning, it's not the pshat according to the Rabbanan that we are concerned of tumah, and that's why we have a substitute. We appoint the substitute to ensure that the Kohen Gadol does not become tumah. He'll be so careful, and he will not become tumah. And so, therefore, the likelihood of tumah is so rare under these circumstances that it's so uncommon that we don't have to be concerned, and we do not need to appoint the substitute for the substitute. Frag the Gemara. Well, why is it this takana? How is this takana going to be valid? According to Rabbi Yehuda, he says you appoint a substitute wife in case his wife dies. But is this takana? Is it going to be sufficient? What is going to be accomplished by appointing a substitute wife? It says, if his wife, in fact, dies, so yes, you have one that's prepared, but he'll be left at some point in time without a wife. So therefore, what have you accomplished? You have somebody that's prepared, but he needs a wife. More answers, the Mekanishla. He actually, before Yom Kippur, he actually does the Kiddushin. So therefore, if his wife dies on Yom Kippur while he's doing the Avodah, then he already has another wife that he's married to. So therefore, he's not left without a wife. To be called Beiso, it has to be Nesuin. It has to be that not only the Kiddushin stage, the Nesuin, that he takes her into his house. Kiddushin is not sufficient. More answers, the Kohanis law. No, what we say is he actually marries another woman, he does Nesuin before Yom Kippur. So he'll always be ensured to have a wife. The Gemara, how can that be a takana? Then he'll have two wives. The Torah says that he is mechaper for himself, and Beisai, singular, his wife, not two wives. He can't have two wives. The Gemara says the Hadar Megashla. Well, it means that afterwards he divorces her. He divorces her after. So, well, and then the kasha comes back. If he is going to marry her and divorce her right away, well, what have you accomplished? The Yom Kippur comes, and he only has one wife. What is marrying her and then divorcing her, and divorcing before Yom Kippur, what does that accomplish? And then he will still only have one wife. When Yom Kippur comes and she dies, he'll have no wives. And if he doesn't divorce her before Yom Kippur, he has, during Yom Kippur, two wives. So what do you have accomplished over here? The Gemara says, no, it's for the following case. The Megarish la al Tanai. Let's substitute, he gives her Kiddushin, he gives her Nesuin, and then he gives her a get al Tanai. The Amr la Hare Zegideh Chal Menas Shetamusi. He says, this is your get on condition that if you die before the end of Yom Kippur. If you die before the end of Yom Kippur, this is your get retroactively. So therefore, if she dies before the end of Yom Kippur, then this is a get, and therefore he's married to the first one and not to the second one. If she doesn't die before the Yom Kippur, then he's married to the second one. Taisus asks that, well, if he's giving her the get on conditions she dies, well, if she dies, then why do you need the get for her? She's not alive anyway. So he says, no. Maybe she'll die in the middle of the day. So therefore, at the end of the second half of the day, the Kohen Gadol will only have one wife. But the first half of the day, there'll be two wives. So you need the get to say that retroactively, if she dies before the end of the day, retroactively, she's divorced. So therefore, he only had one wife. Frankly, Gemara, well, maybe she won't die. And and then he's married to two women, and you still have the same problem. The Gemara says, he says, this is your get if you don't die. So if she doesn't die, then retroactively she's divorced. And if she does die, then then the first one is married to the first one. But frankly, Gemara, well, what have you accomplished over here? The whole point of this is that in case the first one dies, then he'll have a substitute. But Vidilma Hiloi Maisa, maybe the substitute won't die. And then Vahavla Gita Dai Gita, and therefore she's divorced. So he's not married to Umaisa Chaverta, and the original one, the first wife dies, the Kamal of dies, and then he doesn't have a wife. So what have you accomplished? So rather the solution is, he says, he says, this is a get on condition that one of you die. If the substitute dies, he has the original wife. And if the first wife dies, then he has the second wife. So therefore, he'll ensure that he doesn't have two wives. Taisus asks Akasha, well, maybe one of them will die, and therefore this get, maybe the first one will die, maybe this get, therefore, is a get, and they'll have no wives. However, that is a kasha, it is a valid kasha, but the Gemara will ask another kasha that Taisus says is based on a more common occurrence. So the Gemara asks, the Gemara asks, well, maybe nobody will die, which is a more common occurrence, and therefore the get is not a get, and then he has two wives. So again, you have that problem. Additionally, the Gemara asks, is this a valid get? If he says this type of a condition, that this is your get, almanas, that one of you dies, is that a valid get? Rava says, if a person gives a get to his wife with a condition, on condition you don't drink wine, so therefore, if he says the condition, not just a condition that you don't drink wine, he says that a condition that you don't drink wine all of my life for your lifetime. This is not a valid krisis. This is not a valid severance. But if he says that it's a get on condition that you don't drink wine someone else's entire lifetime, for his entire lifetime, then it is krisis. Meaning, a get has to effect a complete severance. So a get has to be a get that at least at some point in her life, she's completely severed from her original husband. If he says this is your get, that you can't drink wine, that all of your lifetime, then she'll never in her lifetime be completely severed from the husband, then it's not a krisis. So therefore, if he says that this is your get, almanas, that he says that almanas shetomos achas mikem, well, that means that is a get if she dies. And that means is that she never has a time in her lifetime that it is a severance. It's a complete severance. So therefore it's not a get. So this can't be a valid get in any event. It's just a get and ask. Yeah, but he said the condition, maybe the first wife will die, and then it's a get, and then she does have her life, the rest of her life, where it's completely severed. So he says, nevertheless, the first wife did not die. So this get cannot take place if, in fact, it turns out that she's the one that died first. The get never gave her a severance during her lifetime. So in any event, this is not a solution. The Gemara says, rather, he says to her, he says, this is your get on condition that your chaver, meaning the first wife, does not die. So, if the first wife does not die, then migrasha, the second one, is divorced. And if she does die, if the first wife dies, now you have the second wife. So he says, this is your get, almanas, that the first wife, if she doesn't die, so it comes out that this second wife is divorced. The Kohen Gadol only had one wife. If she does die, If she does die, then you have the second one. Well, maybe the first one dies in the middle of the day. Then Vigor Milsan, it'll turn out that Lamafrey retroactively to get the high Lav Gito. Then the get of the substitute is not a get, because at some point in Yom Kippur, at some point during that day, the first one died. Vav Lavadim Shnei Batim. And then it'll turn out that he did the avodah with two wives part of the day. Ella the Amr law, he says, he says opposite. He says this is your get on condition that the first one dies. If the first one dies, this is your get. Well, maybe the first one will die, and then the get is valid, and then he has no wife. So still you don't have a solution. So we'll see in the next year how the Gemara resolves it and offers what the solution is.